Okay. Which of the following enzyme deficiencies is most likely responsible for this patient's condition? HMG-CoA reductase, LPL, LDL receptor, microsomal triglyceride transfer protein, or sterol regulatory element binding protein. A 25-year-old woman presents with recurrent episodes of abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting. Her medical history is significant for eruptive xanthomas and lipedema retinalis. Laboratory findings reveal elevated chylomicrons, triglycerides, and cholesterol. This patient has no known family history of lipid disorders. Which of the following enzyme deficiencies is most likely responsible for this patient's condition? Man, it's been a minute since I've read these. I do know it's the type 1 hypercholesterolemia, just because it's chylomicrons, triglycerides, and cholesterol.
Okay.
And what's drawing my mind is lipoprotein lipase or low density lipoprotein receptor. It's one of those two for sure.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't believe it's any of the others.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I'm trying to remember. I'd probably go with LPL. Just
Okay.
my gut says that, and I really don't have a great like reason for either, but my gut says LPL.
Perfect. Okay, good. I mean, I don't remember this. I just remember that LPL is the one that it's like kind of the initial one, if I remember correctly. You're way closer to it than me, but this is what I remember at least. And so LPL is going to give you like kind of, your cholesterol, triglycerides, and chylomicrons. Let's look at kind of the receptor because I honestly can't remember, right? Uptake of LDL parts from bloodstream, deficiency receptor leads to
Yeah,
familiar.
that's the familial type, and so they would say in the vignette that like their father or someone of like recent
Gotcha.
family history died from like a heart attack at the age of like 35, like
Gotcha.
and so I think
Gotcha.
that's what they would say at least.
Gotcha. And it seems like it's mainly, oh, yeah, yeah, that's right. This makes sense, right? Because it's the LDL receptor, it uptakes LDL. So you're mainly going to get LDL elevation of cholesterol. So
Okay,
that
yep,
makes sense.
yep.
Yep. Because LPL, if I remember, it breaks down and it's one of the early ones. So you're going to get a elevation of all three. But
Mm.
the lipoprotein receptor takes up LDL, meaning that, LDL is going to be your like quote unquote bad cholesterol, right? So,
And that's the one that, so if that's further on, like you said, further down the line, it's going to
yep.
see just an increase in LDL.
Yep. So
Or am I?
good.
Okay, cool.
Perfect, perfect. Did that great. Definitely one. I always struggled with these. At least remembering, the names of them, if that makes sense, right? I think one of the key things is it. They don't really test you on. I'll give you an example, right? Like type 1 hypercholesterolemia or familia or whatever. They really test you more. Do you know what the enzymes do? So that's going to be the key takeaways when you're learning these things. Is like, oh, what does lipoprotein lipase do? What does LDL receptor do? What, you know what I mean? And so
Oh,
if
that
you
makes
know
sense.
what builds up behind it, I, to be honest, never remembered like, oh, which one's 1A, which one, you know what I'm trying to say? So those classifications.
Yeah, and you're right. It's kind of like memorizing facts versus like being able to process through something. Like if I was able to just think like, well, lipoprotein lipase is like early along in that process, and if it were to be decreased, you would have an increase in chylomicrons, triglycerides, and cholesterol. But if you had an LDL receptor decrease, it would just be an increase in LDL.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
okay.
And it'll make it more simple that way because sometimes, how I am with, and, there's always, memorizing in medicine, but the more that you can create it more clinically a little bit to make it make sense, then it'll stick a little bit longer. Obviously, even with that, I mean, before talking to this, I was just like, yeah, I got it between B and C, just like you. And I was like, I don't remember, man. So,